The phone slipped from my fingers, clattering against the marble floor of my meticulously designed home office. The words echoed in my mind like a cruel joke. "Oh, we had it yesterday." My daughter Sarah's casual tone, her deliberately flat affect, told me everything and nothing. I'd always prided myself on reading people. As a top-tier business consultant, I'd built a reputation for seeing through corporate facades, for understanding the intricate dance of human motivation. But this blindsided me completely. The Martinez Consulting Group had been my life's work, 3 generations of strategic brilliance, of building something lasting. My grandfather started it with nothing more than a borrowed typewriter and an impossible dream. My father expanded it. And I'd transformed it into a multinational powerhouse that advised Fortune 500 companies. Sarah was supposed to be my successor, my only child, groomed since childhood to take over the family business. I'd sacrificed everything: my marriage to Michael, countless personal relationships, years of personal time, to create a legacy for her. When my ex-husband Michael suggested she join the firm 2 years ago, I'd been thrilled. A family reunion of sorts, a chance to heal old wounds. Michael and I had divorced a decade earlier, but I'd always believed we could co-parent successfully. Professional, mature. Now, sitting in my office surrounded by awards and photographs chronicling our family's success, I realized how thoroughly I'd been manipulated. The engagement dinner. Those words kept spinning in my head. An event I knew nothing about, supposedly already past. My mind raced through recent conversations, searching for missed clues. Last month's quarterly review should have been my first warning. Sarah's presentation felt rehearsed, distant. The numbers seemed slightly off, but I'd attributed it to her developing management style. My daughter, always so eager to prove herself. I reached for the bottom drawer of my antique mahogany desk, a gift from my father, and pulled out the file folder marked Personal. Inside, meticulously organized financial statements began to tell a different story. Subtle discrepancies, carefully hidden transfers, bank statements with transactions I didn't recognize. My hands, usually steady from years of high-stakes negotiations, trembled slightly as I spread the documents across my desk. Something was very wrong, and Sarah, my own daughter, was at the center of it. The betrayal was just beginning to take shape, like a photograph slowly developing in a dark room. Each document revealed another layer, another crack in the carefully constructed facade of family loyalty. I took a deep breath. Eleanor Martinez didn't get mad. Eleanor Martinez got methodical. The unraveling. The conversation replayed in my mind like a haunting melody. 2 days ago, I'd called Sarah about the upcoming engagement dinner for her younger brother's fiancé. Her response had been chillingly casual. "Oh, we had it yesterday." At first, I'd thought it was a misunderstanding. But now, surrounded by the mounting evidence, those words felt like a calculated knife twist. I dialed Michael's number, my fingers pressing each button with deliberate precision. He picked up on the third ring, his voice professionally smooth. "Eleanor," he said, that familiar tone of controlled civility that had once attracted me, now grating against my nerves. "Tell me about the engagement dinner," I demanded, my voice steady despite the hurricane brewing inside me. A momentary pause, just a fraction of a second. But in that silence, I heard everything. "Sarah didn't tell you?" Michael's response was carefully measured. The pieces started falling into place. The suspicious financial transfers, the subtle changes in Sarah's behavior, the way she'd been positioning herself in the company, slowly, methodically. I remembered the last board meeting. Sarah had presented a restructuring plan that seemed innovative at the time. Now it looked like a calculated dismantling of everything I'd built. My investigative instincts kicked in. I pulled up the recent communications between Sarah and Michael, grateful for the tracking software I'd installed years ago, a precaution from my divorce that now felt like divine intervention. The emails were damning: coded language, strategic discussions about transitioning leadership, phrases that now read like a carefully orchestrated coup. One email, dated 3 months ago, made my blood run cold. Michael wrote to Sarah, "Phase 1 is complete. By the quarterly review, we'll have everything in place." Everything. The word echoed in my mind. I pulled out the company's recent financial reports. Forensic accounting had always been my strength. Lines of numbers that would look mundane to most told me a story of systematic betrayal, subtle fund redirections, fabricated expense reports, a paper trail so carefully constructed that it would paint me as the villain, an aging executive mismanaging company resources. They were planning to force me out, not just from the company, but to destroy my entire reputation, my daughter, my ex-husband, working together to dismantle everything I'd spent my life building. The engagement dinner was more than just a family event. It was the moment they'd finalized their plan, celebrating their impending victory right under my nose. I leaned back in my chair, a cold clarity washing over me. This was war, and I would not be a passive victim. Revenge is an art form, and I was about to become its master. My home office transformed into a war room, walls covered with intricate mind maps, digital forensics spread across multiple monitors, each piece of evidence carefully cataloged and cross-referenced. I began by understanding their entire strategy. Michael had always been brilliant at corporate manipulation. It's how he'd built his own consulting firm after our divorce. Sarah had inherited his cunning, combined with a ruthlessness I'd never seen before. Their plan was elegant in its cruelty. They'd fabricated a trail of financial misconduct that would not just remove me from the company, but completely destroy my professional reputation. Forged expense reports, manipulated digital records, strategic email deletions that would make me look like a desperate executive trying to cover her tracks. But they'd forgotten one crucial thing. I taught Sarah everything she knows about strategic planning. I started with digital forensics. My connections in cybersecurity were extensive. 3 discrete calls, and I had experts who could trace every digital fingerprint Michael and Sarah had left behind. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected source: a junior accountant who'd been uncomfortable with some of the recent financial manipulations. An anonymous tip, carefully cultivated, would provide me with internal documentation that Michael and Sarah believed was completely erased. My strategy would be multi-layered: expose their corporate manipulation, destroy their professional credibility, dismantle their personal relationships. Ensure they would never recover from this, I mapped out their entire network: Michael's consulting clients, Sarah's professional connections, the board members of our family company. Each relationship became a potential point of leverage. An old college friend now working in forensic accounting agreed to help. "This goes beyond typical corporate sabotage," he warned me. I knew. This was personal. The digital trail they'd left was surprisingly sloppy. They'd been so confident in their plan, so certain of their victory, that they'd become careless. Every deleted email, every manipulated document, every hidden communication would become a weapon. I discovered something even more shocking. This wasn't just about forcing me out of the company. They planned to sell Martinez Consulting Group to a competitor, splitting a massive acquisition bonus between them. My family's 3-generation legacy, reduced to a financial transaction, a cold calculation settled in my chest. They would learn that betrayal has consequences. I began preparing my counterattack, not with anger, not with emotion, but with the same strategic precision I'd used to build the company they now sought to destroy. Michael and Sarah thought they knew everything about corporate warfare. They were about to learn that I wrote the original playbook. I arranged a seemingly innocuous board meeting, inviting key stakeholders, potential investors, and industry journalists. Michael believed he was presenting the company's future restructuring plan. He had no idea he was walking into a carefully constructed trap. My forensic evidence was meticulously prepared: digital records, email trails, financial discrepancies, each document a precision crafted weapon. As Michael began his presentation, I watched him. The confidence, the practiced smile, the same manipulative charm that had once drawn me to him during our marriage now looked like a grotesque mask. "Excellent presentation," I interrupted, my voice calm. "Before we proceed, I'd like to address some inconsistencies." The room fell silent. Michael's smile flickered. I projected the first piece of evidence: a series of emails showing coordinated efforts to manipulate financial records. Sarah's name was prominently featured. Michael's fingerprints were everywhere. His confidence began to crack. Sweat beaded on his forehead. The investors leaned forward, their interest shifting from potential opportunity to a developing drama. But this was just the beginning. My next move targeted Sarah's professional network. I'd discovered she'd been subtly undermining key client relationships, positioning herself to break away and start her own competing firm. Using carefully cultivated connections, I began spreading strategically crafted information. A whisper here, a subtle email there, each communication designed to erode trust. Her potential clients started asking uncomfortable questions. Investors became hesitant. The professional network she'd spent years building began to destabilize. Michael attempted to counterattack. He tried to discredit my evidence, arguing that the documents were fabricated. But I'd anticipated this. Every piece of evidence was bulletproof, verified by multiple independent sources. The psychological warfare was equally important. I knew their vulnerabilities: Michael's ego, Sarah's desperate need for professional validation. I arranged chance encounters: a former colleague here, a potential client there. Each interaction subtly designed to increase their paranoia. Their communication became more frantic. Encrypted messages, hushed phone calls. They were starting to turn on each other, each suspecting the other of potential betrayal. I discovered Sarah had been secretly meeting with a competing firm, discussing a potential acquisition. I ensured those discussions became public knowledge, further destabilizing her position. Michael's own consulting firm began to experience unexpected audits. Client contracts mysteriously became complicated. His reputation, once impeccable, started to show hairline fractures. They didn't realize I was orchestrating every move. The beauty of my plan was its complexity. This wasn't just about professional destruction. This was about dismantling their entire sense of security, piece by calculated piece. Each day, the pressure increased. Their world was shrinking, their options diminishing, and they had no idea how or why. Sarah called me once, her voice desperate. "What's happening?" she asked. I simply replied, "I'm not sure what you mean," and hung up. The engagement dinner they'd celebrated, their moment of perceived victory, was becoming their worst nightmare. And I was just getting started. I chose the annual industry conference, the most prestigious gathering of consulting firms in the country. Michael had been scheduled as the keynote speaker, with Sarah set to present a groundbreaking case study about our company's future. They had no idea what was coming. As Michael took the stage, his confidence restored after weeks of believing he'd outmaneuvered me, I sat in the front row, perfectly composed, watching. The auditorium was packed. Industry leaders, potential clients, journalists, the creme de la creme of the consulting world. Michael began his presentation, a vision of innovative leadership, of strategic transformation. His voice smooth, his slides meticulously designed. Sarah sat nearby, radiating professional pride. "Ladies and gentlemen," I stood suddenly, my voice cutting through the room like a blade. Every head turned. Michael froze. I walked to the stage, my movements deliberate, controlled, the embodiment of professional grace. Before Mr. Rodriguez continues, I address the audience. I believe there are some facts that require immediate attention. With a simple gesture, the first set of documents appeared on the massive conference screen. Bank transfers, email chains, forged documents. Each piece of evidence more damning than the last. The room went absolutely silent. Michael's face transformed. Pale, sweating, the mask of professional confidence crumbling in real time. Sarah attempted to intervene, but I was several moves ahead. Another set of documents appeared. Her own communications, her plans to sell the company, her collaborative efforts to push me out. What we're witnessing, I continued, my voice steady, is a calculated attempt to destroy not just a company, but a family legacy. The documents told a story of betrayal more complex than simple corporate sabotage. They revealed a deeply personal vendetta, manipulations that went beyond business, a complete psychological warfare. Evidence of their private communications revealed the depth of their conspiracy. Emails discussing not just professional displacement, but personal destruction, how they would manage my reputation, how they would ensure I would never work in the industry again. Michael tried to speak, to interrupt, but the evidence was overwhelming. I had stripped away every layer of protection, every professional facade, exposed them completely. The industry leaders, people I'd known for decades, looked on in shock. Respected professionals who had been prepared to support Michael and Sarah now sat in stunned silence. Sarah's attempt to defend herself only made things worse. Each word seemed to dig her deeper into the hole they'd created. I wasn't just destroying their professional reputation. I was dismantling their entire narrative. The conference became a public execution. Not of bodies, but of professional identities. When I finished speaking, the room was silent. Michael and Sarah stood exposed, vulnerable. Everything they'd worked for, gone in the span of 45 minutes. I had won. Completely and utterly. In the weeks following the conference, the fallout was unprecedented. Michael's consulting firm collapsed within days. Professional networks he'd spent decades building disintegrated like sand through his fingers. Sarah was blacklisted from every major consulting group in the country. I watched, not with satisfaction, but with a profound sense of emptiness. My brother Thomas was the first to reach out. Was it worth it? He asked during a long, difficult phone call. The question hung between us, heavy with unspoken family history. The Martinez Consulting Group would survive. But at what cost? I discovered things about my family that I never wanted to know. Old wounds reopened. Generations of hidden resentments surfaced like forgotten ghosts. My mother's journals, discovered in the aftermath, revealed a pattern of betrayal I'd never understood. My grandfather's original business had been built on similar family conflicts, secrets, manipulations, power struggles that tore families apart. I was continuing a legacy I'd always claimed to despise. Therapy helped, slowly, painfully. I began to understand the complex psychology behind my actions. Revenge wasn't just about Michael and Sarah. It was about years of accumulated pain, disappointment, the slow erosion of trust. The extended family fractured. Cousins took sides. Thanksgiving gatherings became impossible. Holiday cards stopped arriving. We became another cautionary tale, another family destroyed by its own ambitions. Sarah tried to contact me twice, desperate emails, voicemails filled with a mixture of anger and pain. I never responded. Michael's attempts were more calculated. Legal threats, attempts to negotiate, each communication carefully crafted to find a weakness. I saw through every strategy. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd raised Sarah to be exactly like me. Strategic, ruthless, intelligent. and she had used those very skills against me. Professional colleagues approached me with a mixture of admiration and fear. I'd become a legend in the industry, not just for my business acumen, but for the most public takedown in consulting history. But legends are lonely. My home, once filled with family photographs and professional achievements, now felt like a museum of my own destruction. Each room a testament to what I'd lost in pursuit of vindication. The company board offered me a graceful exit, a lifetime achievement award, retirement with full honors. But retirement felt like surrender. I started writing. Not just business reports, but a memoir. A deep, unflinching examination of family, betrayal, and the cost of revenge. Each page a form of therapy, each chapter a way to understand myself. Years of strategic planning had prepared me for every professional challenge, but nothing could have prepared me for the emotional aftermath of destroying my own child's career. Love and hate, I realized, were two sides of the same coin. And sometimes, the flip of that coin destroys everything in its path. The engagement dinner, that moment of casual betrayal, had changed everything. Not just for Michael and Sarah, but for me, for our entire family. Some wars are won, but nobody truly survives.